the sleepy Shropshire town of Wellington, where one resident hides a dark and dangerous obsession. He's hooked on porn and loves to watch his women hang and die.
He hung her and he had sex with her. She was dead.
He's a danger to society and a serial killer in the making.
Even if you kept him in prison for 50 years, the minute he gets out, he's going to go and do it again because that's what turns him on.
On May the 26th, 2013, an unsuspecting teenage girl walks straight into his trap.
They'd found photographs of Georgia alive and then photographs of Georgia with a rope around her neck.
Britain's Darkest Taboos reveals the shocking true stories behind the most horrific acts of familial crime, including torture.
I was torturing my sister. The axe actually entered her skull.
Abuse.
He'd sexually defiled Georgia's body after her death.
And murder.
When he was strangling her, did she think in her head, I want my mum, where's my mum?
Cheeky you are, aren't you? You enjoying yourself?
Yeah.
That's good. Enjoying your swimming?
Yeah.
Good. It's a good thing you get back
We
in.
could record this on telly.
Little Georgia Williams is her parents' pride and joy.
I can remember the day she was born. It was a bit of a rush to the hospital, and it was after 12 at night, and we literally got there in time, and she was born at a few minutes past 1 on the 7th of September 1995.
She was perfect, tiny little girl and beautiful. Yes, we had no issues with it, and it was lovely. It made our family complete.
We'd already got a girl, and as people do, you know, people were saying, I bet you want a boy, and I said, and to be honest, I'd been so pleased with Scarlett as our child and everything. I was still thinking inside, I hope it's a girl, you know, and I was really, really pleased when we had another girl.
I can see them dusty legs.
It was a joy to me from that day onwards.
Just 3 weeks after Georgia is born, Steve completes his training and fulfills his dream of becoming a fully fledged police officer. It's a precious moment.
That photograph, I can still put myself there, holding Georgia in my arms and Scarlett and my wife by my side. It was a proud moment to have all my family there, and I envisaged that Georgia had been there the day I passed out, and she'd be there the day I retired. But unfortunately, that will never be the case.
As Georgia grows up, she's a determined little girl with a larger-than-life personality.
The end's just come off and it's hit me on the knee.
Did it? I was squirt back on.
She wasn't as quick to walk or talk as Scarlett had been, but once she got going, there was no stopping her, really.
Georgia was more touchy-feely than a sister, so she loved to hold your hand. So you'd just be sitting there and she'd come a sidle up and put her hand in your hand and...
Dad, will you put it on tight?
Georgia had this knack of getting round you and stuff like this.
You can have that one, and I have this one, okay?
A little bit cheeky, a little bit audacious, But it was all part of that personality, and she was generous. She'd give you anything, do anything for you.
She always used to, like, to play pranks on me, or like hide behind doors and jump out. She was just a normal little sister. She just annoyed me and I annoyed her, but at the same time, it was like in a loving way.
Georgia attends her local junior school in the Shropshire town of Wellington. But at first, school life isn't easy.
She was bullied when she was at junior school, but she was very, very resilient. I know on a couple of occasions her mum said to her, we'll get you moved. And Georgia, even at the age of 10, said, no, I'm not giving in. I'm staying here and I'm seeing it out.
By the time she reaches high school, Georgia's popular among her peers and is chosen to be the head girl. Among her friends is Jamie Reynolds. Jamie's a few years older. He went to school with Georgia's sister, Scarlett, and the whole family know him.
He wasn't in my class. I didn't really associate with him. I knew of him. He just wasn't in the same group of friends. I didn't particularly think anything bad of him, anything good of him.
Well, initially, obviously Jamie knew Scarlett, and the rest of the family then knew Jamie because he works at our local garage, which is also a shop.
He'd served me on numerous occasions. I'd spoke to him in passing. Georgia met him initially there because she worked there and earned some pocket money. If you hear people talk about him, especially adults that know him, they say, what a lovely lad, what a nice lad. You couldn't meet a nicer lad.
He was quiet, to be honest. I just thought he was a quiet lad, always very polite.
He was just a normal kid.
Jamie is on the edge of Georgia's social circle, and at times he seems lonely. Georgia tries to include him and make him feel part of the group.
Georgia being Georgia, I think she felt sorry for him as much as anything and thought, it's a shame for him. I will be his friend.
Former Detective Superintendent David Swindle has been face to face with some of the UK's most notorious killers. He knows better than most the mindset of a murderer.
Jamie Reynolds was in the periphery of George's social circle. He created that sort of victim or vulnerable persona. He's quite happy to go along with a situation where he can get people into his sort of confidence or trust, and people take him on, and people empathising, as was the case with Georgia.
Jamie Reynolds wants to be Georgia's boyfriend, so he asks her out on a date. Georgia turns him down, but is anxious not to hurt his feelings.
She did say to me that he had broached the subject of taking her out and things like this. She was always thinking of other people. What's the nicest way I can say this to him, Scarlett? How can I want to stay friends with him. How do I say this and not hurt his feelings?
He did pester her at one time to go out with him, but Georgia told him quite clearly that that wasn't the way she saw their relationship, and he was a friend and she'd like him to remain a friend, but there was never ever going to be any romance or anything like that.
Jamie Reynolds cuts a forlorn figure. He's 23 years old, lonely and bored of his job. He wants to be a professional photographer and needs a portfolio. So he asks Georgia and some of her friends to help him by coming to his parents' house for a photo shoot. Emma Kenny is a psychologist who works with families and young people in her clinics.
Georgia felt compelled to go over to Jamie's. He was struggling in his career. He wanted to be a photographer, and so she'd agreed to help him out. And it kind of demonstrates just how compassionate she was. Also, at the time, she felt that lots of other young people were going to be there, so didn't have any reason to fear going over.
Sunday, May the 26th, 2013. Georgia has a busy half-term week ahead of her and wants to spend the evening with her family. But tonight is the night she's arranged to go round to Jamie Reynolds' house.
I was on duty that day. I'd been to work and I got home about 4:30. The weather was lovely. Lynette's parents was round here, so we decided to have a barbecue.
We'd known all day that she was going to go out. She was seeing friends. You know, she was a teenager. She came, she went. Same as me. I came and went. You don't think anything of it.
So Lynette said to her, "Why don't you give it a bit of a rest tonight? Why don't you stay in with us? Like, I'm sure Jamie won't mind."
You could say she was thinking, I'll go up and do it now. I won't have a chance again the rest of the week. And she wanted to help him. She wanted to help him move on. So that was my last conversation with her, in that, what's it for? I'm just asking as a mum, what are you up to? And who else is going?
We knew Jamie, we knew where she was going, literally 5 minutes walk up the road. We believed that there were going to be other friends turning up that night. And we had nothing to worry about. Georgia went into a room and she came out with her hair in a ponytail, skinny jeans on, flat plimsolls, that baggy t-shirt with a London buzz on and a leather jacket. And I actually said, "Oh," I said, "you look really," I said, "you look like Olivia Newton-John in Greece." I said, you look the part." And she goes, "Do I?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." And she left.
What Georgia's family don't realise is that Jamie Reynolds is hiding a dark secret and that the nightmare is only just beginning.
My emotions overwhelmed me then and I ran off and I was physically sick.
May the 26th, 2013, just after 7:30 in the evening. 17-year-old Georgia Williams is heading to Jamie Reynolds' house. She's meeting friends there and taking part in a photo shoot.
I knew Jamie, I knew where he lived up the road. It's only 5 minutes walk. I was okay with that.
That there were going to be other friends turning up that night. And we had nothing to worry about.
But what Georgia doesn't know is that none of her other friends are coming. Jamie Reynolds' mum and dad are away on holiday. They are all alone.
It got to about 10:30 and Lynette sent a text message saying, "Where are you and what you're doing?" She got a text message back saying, I've left with some friends. I'm going to be out for a while. I'll see you later." And it was finished with the 3 kisses that she put at the end.
What Georgia's parents don't realise is that it isn't their daughter who sent the text message. It's Jamie Reynolds.
She actually signs off with 3 kisses, which is completely normal. That's how Georgia signs off. It means love your mum, dad and sister. What's really terrifying about this is it's actually Jamie who is responding to Georgia's mother. The fact that he tries to imitate Georgia, the fact that he signs off in a way that he knows will appease her mother's fears, is calculating, manipulative. Essentially, it's evil.
Completely unaware, Georgia's parents are reassured by the text message and head off to bed. But Georgia doesn't come home that night.
We had no real concerns. It was about 6 in the morning, and then it text again. Got no answer, but then round about 7:30, 8, there was an answer saying, I did stay at a friend's, I'm fine, I'll see you later, but my battery is dying too, TOO.
Jamie Reynolds is playing a cruel game with Georgia's parents. Only this time, his text message has a sinister hidden meaning. Monday, May the 27th, and Georgia's due to go to a music festival with friends. Her parents assume she's gone straight there.
We were still thinking in our minds she's with somebody that she knows and that she'll be back. And we'd booked for her first driving lesson on the Tuesday morning. So we knew that she'd be back for that, come what may, because she couldn't wait to go out and have her first lesson.
But I said, you know what? I says, she's never played up, she's never had this rebellion. I said, I just wonder if she thought, you know what? I'm going to ignore them for a day and show them that I'm old enough to do my own thing and whatever.
Monday evening, and they haven't heard from Georgia all day. Her phone is switched off, and none of her friends know where she is. Her parents are starting to worry.
Time went on. I stood at this window, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and I said, when she gets in, she's going to have a real good talking to, because she can't do this.
Tuesday morning, and there's still no sign of Georgia. Steve decides to call the police and report his daughter missing. Detective Sergeant Paul Hopwood, Steve's colleague and a close family friend, is on duty.
One of the questions that we would ask families of missing people is this situation out of the ordinary? And in Georgia's case, it was. She would contact her parents religiously. She was very close to her parents and trusted them, and they trusted her.
Police run a routine check on Jamie Reynolds and discover he has a dark past. In 2008, he was given a police caution for trying to strangle a young woman. They decide to take urgent action.
The police rang me then and said, Steve, we're outside the house. There's no sign of life here. We're going to put the door in. Now, that really sounded alarm bells for me.
We'd got no idea that Reynolds was in any way a dangerous person. And we actually sat up in our bedroom and we saw all the police cars going by.
I thought, it's strange for him to be putting the door in. I wonder now what that reason's for, because we don't do that all the time at that early stage.
Once inside, police carry out a search of the house. There's no sign of Jamie Reynolds or Georgia. They launch an urgent manhunt, and family friend Paul Hopwood is assigned to the case.
The priority at the beginning of the investigation was to find Georgia safe and well. Obviously, we were looking for Jamie Reynolds. A large number of officers from West Mercia Police and Warwickshire Police were involved in the investigation to try and find Jamie Reynolds.
They started searching for Jamie Reynolds. They went to his place of employment. There was no trace of him. They started looking at vehicles, and they found out that there was a van missing, his father's van.
2:30 Wednesday morning. Police find the missing van 280 miles away, outside a budget hotel in Glasgow. Jamie Reynolds is taken in for questioning, but there's still no sign of Georgia.
He was found, and it was vitally important for us to find Georgia. So we directed our staff to conduct an urgent interview, which took place at a police station in Glasgow. Reynolds was asked a single question: "Where is Georgia Williams?" To which he replied, "I don't know." He was then arrested and he was brought back to West Mercia.
"5:30 Wednesday morning. It's now almost 3 days since Georgia's disappearance. 2 senior police officers knock on Steve and Lynette's door.
And that's when we both panicked, because we knew that we wouldn't have high-ranking officers knocking on our door at 5 o'clock in the morning to tell us good news.
Lynette was stood there. I was still in my dressing gown, and I said, "He's killed her, hasn't he? He's killed her." And my emotions then started to get the better of me. Lynette was shouting, "No, no, don't say that." And I said, "Lynette, he's killed her." I says, "That's what they're going to say, isn't it? That's what they're going to say." And they were saying, "Steve, you know, that might be the case." And my emotions overwhelmed me then, and I ran off, and I was physically sick.
The distraught parents phone Georgia's sister Scarlett and tell her to come home.
They basically said to me, you know, this isn't looking good, basically. But you don't ever stop holding out hope.
Georgia's family desperately cling onto the hope that Georgia is still alive. But Jamie Reynolds is still saying nothing about her whereabouts.
Shortly after his return to West Mercia, we discovered articles in his house that showed us that Georgia Williams had been in fact murdered. A camera within the house was found to contain a memory card that had been cleaned, but not sufficiently enough for us to recover a number of images that depicted Georgia naked and dead.
The worst fears of Georgia's family have been confirmed.
There's not words to, you know, people use devastated and stuff like that. There isn't a word to describe. I died that day. I died.
It's hard to try and gauge how to tell your other daughter. Sorry. My sister's dead.
Police revealed to the family the photographic evidence they've uncovered and the shocking and sordid details of Georgia's last moments.
And they told us that they'd found photographs on Jamie Reynolds' hard drive of Georgia alive at his house. And then photographs of Georgia with a rope around her neck.
He hung her, and then he put her in every room in the house and took photographs of her in every way you can think of, and he had sex with her. She was dead.
In my job, I had dealt with people in my situation, family members of victims themselves, and I always thought that I could imagine how they felt, and I tried to deal with them that way, but I was a million miles off the mark.
Because even in your worst nightmare, you can't think that up, can you, for anything? And it's your daughter, it's your young daughter. And you think he's just treated her like a piece of nothing. And all she did in life was look after other people, look out for people like him. And he's repaid her kindness by doing the worst things possible to someone else that really didn't deserve it.
You can't even begin to step into the horror that Georgia would have been feeling in those moments. She goes from a willing participant in a friendly situation where she trusts that she's simply helping her friend out, to knowing that she's going to die.
You think of all the what ifs. What ifs? What if we hadn't moved here? What if, you know, what if we just sent her to a different school? What if we'd have moved somewhere else before she got to know him? What if someone had told us what he was about?
The police investigation continues, and the full horror of Jamie Reynolds' dark taboo starts to emerge.
And he'd written 40 stories which described rape, torture, asphyxiation and strangulation of females to the point of death.
And the hunt is on to find Georgia's body.
You just want to say goodbye. Maybe hold a hand for a last time.
May 2013, and 17-year-old Georgia Williams has been hanged and her corpse abused by Jamie Reynolds. Her parents are sickened and grief-stricken.
He hung her and he had sex with her. She was dead.
I died that day. I died.
Reynolds is arrested and charged with murder, but he won't tell police where Georgia's body is. Paul Hopwood, a close personal friend of the Williams family, is now assigned to the investigation.
Throughout the interview, he showed no emotion. He was cold. He didn't assist the investigation in any way to help us find Georgia. He wanted to play games with people and he wanted to exert control.
Police start to piece together Jamie Reynolds' movements. The day after Georgia's disappearance, he's caught on CCTV, filling up his father's van. Georgia's body is in the back of the van. He then drives 60 miles from Wellington to Wrexham in North Wales, where, in a bizarre and sinister twist, he stops to watch a movie.
Reynolds had asked Georgia to go to see the Fast and Furious movies in the weeks before her death. Georgia had politely declined, as by that time she'd got a boyfriend, so they never went. However, post-killing Georgia in the most horrific way, he drove his vehicle to Wrexham, parked the car with Georgia inside it, and then he went to watch the Fast and Furious on his own. So it was a morbid and evil act.
Mentality is to be in control, to dominate people, sadistically dominate people, to be in control of everything, not just the victims, but to be in control of the authorities, to be in control of the people who are interviewing them.
Reynolds continues to say nothing about the whereabouts of Georgia's body. But following an appeal to the public, several people have reported seeing his van in a mountain pass between Wrexham and Ruthin in North Wales.
A number of people had stopped to help Jamie Reynolds at that time as his vehicle has got stuck. Fortunately, those people had contacted us and had led us to that area. And when officers attended that area from North Wales Police, they sadly found Georgia deposited naked in the woodland.
Following the discovery, Reynolds is formally charged with the murder of Georgia Williams. Georgia's grief-stricken family takes the painful decision to visit her body at the Chapel of Rest.
They tried to prepare us before we went in and said, you know, it was horrible, wasn't it? It's George.
It's a terrible thing to say. There was no peace on George's face. It didn't look like the girl that we knew. And we came out and Nan and Grandad and her sister were there, and I physically stopped them from going in and seeing her. I basically said, remember how she was. A lovely, bright, happy girl. Remember her that way. And I had to fight Scarlett off. Scarlett was good, but I couldn't allow her to see that. It's affected Scarlett enough as it is, and I just had to take that responsibility.
I didn't choose not to see Georgia. I wanted to see her because it didn't feel like she was gone. But at the time, you just want to say goodbye. Maybe hold her hand for a last time.
As Georgia's family struggle with the enormity of their loss, details of Jamie Reynolds' sordid past are starting to emerge. Back in 2008, he attacked and tried to strangle a 16-year-old girl. On that occasion, she managed to escape, and police gave Reynolds a caution. But back then, disturbing details of his obsession with violent pornography started to emerge.
His mum and dad, to their credit, revealed some information to a psychiatrist and to the police that Jamie had been accessing snuff movies since the age of 14.
His parents had obviously clearly tried to stop him using computers to look at pornography, and they had put safeguards within their house to prevent him using them. However, whilst they were away, he bypassed their internet system and installed his own routers into the house so he could still continue to access porn.
Several agencies, including the police, are aware of Reynolds' dangerous obsession with extreme pornography. But no action is taken.
People have an image in their head what pornography is. In my mind, this wasn't pornography, it was depictions of women being strangled, asphyxiated, hung, raped, murdered, and the majority of the images that Jamie Reynolds had on his computer were of that nature. We found 16,800 images on his computer. There were 70 videos of extreme porn.
The more that you see that kind of material, the more desensitised you become. The more you watch people being murdered in snuff videos, the more normalised it becomes. That kind of material can be a huge motivator.
Reynolds has started to fantasise about the girls he knows, defacing their photographs, adding nooses round their necks, and writing stories about them.
And he'd written 40 stories which described rape, torture, asphyxiation and strangulation of females to the point of death. The key story within the case was a story called Georgia Williams in Surprise, which in essence was Jamie Reynolds' plan as to what he was going to do with Georgia Williams. It was a written script of her murder.
Jamie Reynolds gets sexual gratification by looking at these type of images, by watching women being killed, tortured, strangulation. But then he had to progress to the next stage. And that next stage was actually carrying out that fantasy, the ultimate fantasy, and that was Georgia.
The trial date's approaching, and Jamie Reynolds is about to face the full force of the law.
The minute he gets out, he's going to go and do it again because that's what turns him on.
I would love to kill him.
Jamie Reynolds has killed Georgia Williams and abused her corpse. Now he's in police custody, charged with her murder.
I had sex with her. She was dead.
But despite overwhelming evidence against him, Reynolds is refusing to accept responsibility for what he's done.
Reynolds showed no remorse. He didn't assist the police. He wanted to play games with people and he wanted to exert control. And I think he tried to exert control all the way through the process, even up until a week before he was due to go to trial.
With the court case fast approaching, Reynolds still hasn't decided how to plead. And Georgia's family still don't know whether they'll have to go through the ordeal of a full trial.
He didn't plead guilty straight away. We had to wait until he'd had all the psychiatrist's reports done. And we weren't sure until we actually went to court on the day and he stood up. It was 50-50 because nobody knew what he was going to come out with.
December the 2nd, 2013, Jamie Reynolds appears before Stafford Crown Court, charged with the murder of Georgia Williams.
Where I sat, I caught a couple of glimpses of him through a crack in the door before he came into court. And he'd been laughing and joking, and then he changed his demeanour when he came into court.
He walked in and I couldn't recognise him. He'd had his hair all nicely cut, got rid of his little beard and he got just a little moustache, got a lovely suit on. I thought, it's the best I'd ever seen him look. And he was like, oh, and he was coming over with his little boy lost. And, you know, and I just wanted to get hold of him and, to be honest with you, kill him.
At the last minute, Reynolds decides to plead guilty to the murder of Georgia Williams. Prosecutors give the court a detailed account of the murder and of Reynolds' obsession with extreme pornography. Reynolds is described as a potential serial killer. He's jailed for life and is told he will never be released.
I don't think he should ever be released. Not just because of what he did to Georgia and because he deserves it, but because of the fact that he is still a threat to the public. He showed no remorse in what he did. I think if he came out, we wouldn't think twice about doing it again.
I am happy that he is going to spend every last second of his life in jail till the day he takes his last breath. I hope that every day of his life is misery for him, because that's what my life is like now.
Well, I was ecstatic, to be honest with you, because I thought that's the best that I can expect in this country.
Jamie Reynolds is going to be in prison for the rest of his natural life, and it's very, very rare that a sentence like that is given. And they are given in exceptional circumstances where there is a belief that no matter how much therapy, no matter how many rehabilitation opportunities occur, they will never, ever be fit to live in society. That means the judge believes Jamie would have killed again and again and again. And even if you kept him in prison for 50 years, the minute he gets out, he's going to go and do it again, because that's what turns him on.
It's not very nice to say, and it's a complete fantasy, because it's never going to happen. But I would love to kill him. That's Georgia's dad talking.
Jamie Reynolds is locked up for life, but the cruel and twisted nature of his crime has left a trail of devastation.
It's had a profound effect on my colleagues. I understand that this is the role chose to take. It was my decision to work within major crime, and it was my desire to work on this case that I accepted that it would be very, very difficult, but Steve would have done exactly the same for me. But it has had a profound effect on me.
We're all not ourselves anymore. I'm different, my dad's different, my mum's different, my grandparents are different. Your friends treat you differently. I just miss my normal family, my normal parents.
If you imagine joyous times, birthdays, Christmas, they become times of torture.
Yeah, I think she'd want me to make the most of my life now. Travel and do well and have a family and things, but it doesn't stop it from hurting. There's not a day that goes by where you don't think, you know, you get a new job and she's the first person I want to tell, or, you know, you go on a date and you want to give her the gossip, or it's just not there anymore.
I will not let Jamie Reynolds dictate to us still what we do in our lives. He's taken George's life. He's taken ours to a degree. But I keep chipping away and with the others to try and get them to get some of their lives back again.
Georgia's family have set up a charitable trust in her name to help young people challenge themselves and broaden their horizons through outdoor activities.
The Georgia Williams Trust has been a lifesaver to us. It got us out of the house, and it got us talking to people and getting involved in things. It's nice to see how much good can come out of something like this, and it's strange, but we're helping so many people, and each time you do that, it's keeping a little bit of Georgia alive. People are remembering her.
She'd be saying, good on you, get out there, have a go, you know, really make a difference. So, to me, as I said, it's her kicking us again. Get up there, get out and do something. And I do feel that we are doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's my dad? He's in work.
I'm your dad.
No,
Who am I then?
you're the man.
The one thing, I can hear it in my mind, the way she said dad. She said it differently to Scarlett, differently than other kids. She just had a way of saying dad, and I miss that.
Aww.